Everybody, welcome to our first video lecture for comm 324. Obviously, we're studying communication and organizations in this class, and as we talked about in class, we're going to use our own class as an example of an organization. We're a group of people coming together for a common purpose. We're going to have strategy behind that. We're going to have goals. We're going to have a process and several processes we use to complete those goals, and we'll talk about all those things over the next few weeks. As a newly formed organization, it puts us in a unique opportunity to really think strategically about our patterns of interaction, what kind of norms we want to develop for communication, and how we want to orient ourselves as a group of new employees or students and professor, if you want to think of it that way. So we're going to jump ahead a little bit to chapter 7 in your textbook and talk about employee socialization processes, which encompasses new employee orientation, although it also includes a variety of processes that you'll read about in your chapter. The idea is for this video lecture to complement the reading. I also posted a Blackboard PowerPoint presentation for you, so you can utilize that for further information. There is some info in the PowerPoint that's not available in your textbook, so the two are intended to work together. And then remember to go on Blackboard, take the quiz in order to prepare for class on Thursday. And then when we meet in class, we're going to look at some examples, work through some scenarios, and then just think really strategically about how we want to develop our patterns of interaction this term and what kind of an organization we want to create for ourselves. So new employee orientation is really part of an ongoing process of socialization, which, as you can read in the chapter, occurs in several phases, including anticipatory, encounter, metamorphosis, and exit. And this process actually does start when we're very young. So I want you to think back to when you're growing up, you're a little kid, and how many times do you get asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And we have interesting answers to that question often when we're kids, and maybe we see what kind of jobs our parents do, and we have ideas about what work is and what it means to work based on what they do. We also learn about things from school. What do our teachers tell us? What kinds of interactions do we have with our teachers and our classmates in the classroom, as that's the first point at which we're in a position to be with a group of people organized for a common purpose, and we start to figure out what that means in terms of the world of work as well. We see what our friends' parents do for work, and then obviously we have media influences as well. We often develop kind of inaccurate or idealized pictures in our head of what it means to do certain jobs based on what we see in the media. If you think about what kinds of jobs are typically depicted, we see a lot of cop shows, we see a lot of hospital dramas and things like that. So we might develop an idea of what it means to be a surgeon from watching Grey's Anatomy, although that's not really accurate. And obviously we know that on a logical level, but especially when we're kids, we don't think about how that actually contributes to what it really means to work in an organization. So as we get older, then we go to college and we get more education, we start to get more experience in different types of occupations and organizations, and we go through very lengthy processes of seeking information. People always tell you to network, right? Get to know people. It is important because we gain information about what it's really like to work in an industry. What does a surgeon do on a day-to-day basis, right? What is it like to be a cop? What is it like to work in PR or marketing or any other type of occupation you might be interested in? So as we start to search for particular types of jobs and look at pieces of information about certain organizations, we're obviously, talking to professors, professionals in the field. We're looking at organizational websites, information that they publish about themselves, and also going to job interviews. The job interview process is an interesting one because it certainly is a persuasive event where the organization's trying to persuade you that it's a good place to work and you should want to come there. As an applicant, you're trying to persuade this organization to hire you, but also remember that it is an information-seeking event as well. It's your chance to really find out what's it like to work at that organization on a day-to-day basis. What will you be doing? And is that a good fit for you as an individual? Because finding a good fit between employees and the organization is really important for the long-term success and happiness and productivity and all of these kinds of things. So when we actually start a job, we enter that encounter phase of socialization, which is the one that's been researched the most in organizational communication. We typically research it from a perspective of uncertainty reduction theory, which is a theory of interpersonal communication that we often apply to the workplace, which essentially goes from the assumption that when we meet new people, it creates uncertainty for us because we're not sure how to interact with them. We often assume that other people are going to interact with us the same way or have the same communication style, which is often not the case. So we're left to negotiate this new relationship. And when you join an organization as a new employee, you have a lot of new relationships to negotiate because you probably have many new coworkers. You have maybe several different bosses on different levels. You might be interacting with customers or clients, depending on what kind of work it is that you're doing. So essentially, we're bombarded with uncertainty, not only about the interactions, which would be a relational aspect of uncertainty, but we're also bombarded with uncertainty about what our task is. So we experience referent uncertainty regarding what am I supposed to be doing right now? And as a new person, you've probably experienced, those first few days on the job, those moments of sort of sitting there wondering, I know I should be doing something right now, but I'm not really sure what it is. And it takes a while to figure out exactly what your to-do list is. You got hired at Dutch Bros to make coffee. Obviously, you know generally what your job is, but if you've not worked in coffee before, you're left to figure out what are the steps to making the different coffee drinks, what are the different behind-the-scenes things that I need to be doing. And it takes some time to adjust to that. And then even probably more importantly for the new person is this aspect of appraisal uncertainty, where you're uncertain about your ability to succeed in that organization and your ability to complete the tasks to a level of proficiency or whatever the desired expectations are for the people that hired you. And especially in a competitive job market where you probably were up against a lot of other people for the job, you know that you beat these people out. So there's a sense of, I need to prove myself. I really need to show them that they made the right choice. They didn't make a mistake in hiring me. And as people, we all have a desire to maintain a positive reputation for ourselves. We don't want to go in there and look like an idiot, right? We want to go in there and look like we know what we're doing and we're a competent and professional individual. So essentially, uncertainty then breaks down into the three primary types. We have the relational uncertainty about how to negotiate all the new relationships between coworkers and bosses, customers, clients, all those people. Referent uncertainty about what our tasks actually are, and then the appraisal level of uncertainty about your ability to complete those tasks. And because uncertainty tends to make us uncomfortable, we then are very proactive in our attempts to seek information. So with uncertainty reduction theory, the goal is to reduce uncertainty through the process of seeking information. Now, it's important to remember that uncertainty is not ever completely reduced. It's something that will always be there in a certain level when we're talking about organizations, but we can certainly manage uncertainty and lessen it as a new employee by different information seeking attempts. And we can typically break these down into two primary types. We're going to have direct or overt types of information seeking, and then more indirect or kind of implicit types of information seeking. The direct information seeking would be simply just asking questions. And lots of times if you have a specific orientation period or training period where they're showing you lots of things and they're working you through different processes, that's a really good point at which to ask a lot of questions so you can gather more information, you can get clarification on things maybe you don't quite understand, or they showed you how to work the copy machine but you don't really remember how to do it now, so you can ask, can you show me how to work the copy machine again? And you directly get the information that you need. We sometimes, though, are hesitant to ask a lot of questions or ask too many questions because we feel that it might hurt our reputation. And when you're brand new, it's expected that you're going to ask a lot of questions, but there's also this kind of unspoken understanding that after you've been there for a week or 2 weeks or a month or a couple of months, you should know what's up, you should know what's going on and how to do these things. So if you're asking too many questions, it might make you look incompetent. It could affect how other people see you in the organization, or at least we think that it might affect how other people are going to see us in the organization. So we then weigh those costs. How much do I need the information versus how much do I want to really look like I know what I'm doing and like I know what I'm talking about, in which case we might rely on more indirect methods of information seeking,